Hi, Katerina. Good to see you. Hi, Lydia. Okay, let's get started. Mike, would you lead us in mandala, please?
Good morning, yes. Sashi Purki Jukshing Me Talk Drum Rira Bling Shin Yende Gyempati Sange Shingdu Mikte Uwargi Jokun Namdak Shingla Drupar Shilog Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami.
I go for refuge until I'm aligned to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create, from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom. May I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge in time and light to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. On the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, let's do some rejoicing. Um, I'm going to select. Oh, hello, Katya. Let's start with Katya. What you have to rejoice in?
I don't have voice.
Oh, okay. Well, so much for Katya. Let's go with Svetlana.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see everyone. Today, I'd like to rejoice about wedding anniversary of my close ones. Yeah, and I send them best wishes and wish them to be together more years further on. So I rejoice that I have someone close to me who have prolonged happy relationships and dedicate that everyone can be together with their partner, have a happy, successful life.
Okay. Oh, good. It's always good to rejoice in other people's happiness. That's what we're here for. Okay. Let's let's look at Daria. What you have to rejoice in?
Um, I rejoice. Yesterday, I helped my mother to go to the hospital. No, not yesterday. It's Saturday, and I have a lot of work. Not work, but some things, my things. But I say, okay, first I must help my mother, and second my another stuff. And I'm not angry like in past. I always angry if I help. But now I tried stop and rejoice. How I say, okay, Lama Sumati said, you must rejoice. Okay, I rejoice. And yesterday we maybe we did sojourn, yes, twice with the group.
Oh, very good. Very good. I'm touched. That's very good. Very good. Okay, let's see who's next. Mike, what you have to rejoice in?
What do I have to rejoice in? Today I met with a friend to go through one of the texts and discuss, uh, like, what we thought it meant and kind of like debate a text. And I've been trying to reach out and be like kind of develop friendships more. And so I see this as kind of like a ripening of my efforts um, to help other people have friendships and to be um, friendlier with people, I guess. So yeah, rejoice in that. I'm not having the greatest day. I don't really feel that wonderful. So, um, it was kind of nice to take my attention out of my life and put it into a space where I could be um, positive and yeah, just be with another person instead of being by myself.
It's interesting. I think how you put it, you take yourself out of, I don't, you said something about taking yourself out of and putting yourself in a different mode. That's kind of, that's what we have to be thinking as aspiring bodhisattvas. We almost have to be sure to take ourselves out of our comfort zone and put on that. How did my wife put it? Well, I can't remember, but it takes, at the beginning, it takes thinking. You have to change your thought process as a bodhisattva to be sure that you're thinking of others first. And we had an interesting situation. Well, I'm not going to do my rejoicing now. I'll do mine later. Okay, let's go. Katrina, what do you have to rejoice in?
Hello, dear Venerable Sumati. I rejoice that my son is recovered, and I feel good enough to be today on the class. And we have a warm, nice, sunny day today.
What happened to your son?
He's sick, but now he's better.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. Okay, Lydia, what do you have to rejoice in?
Hello, dear Lama Sumati. Hello, everyone. I'm rejoicing. Yesterday, I was criticized by my husband from the morning till the evening. I saw this. It was like my interpretation of this, of course, and it was hard yesterday. But today, I'm rejoicing that it's just my karma burned and no criticizing husband in my home in the future.
Well, that's I'm glad you can not respond to it because the criticism's coming from you. That's so much the hardest thing for all of us to do. Now that we know about karma and emptiness, we talk about in your case, a critical husband, and by knowing that you created him with your past karmic deeds, it doesn't make it any easier in many ways, but I find it does make it easier because you know it's your karma ripening, and if you don't react improperly, you burnt off yet another seed. So good. Okay, let's go with Anna. What do you have to rejoice in?
Hello, dear Venerable Sumati. Hello, everyone. Thank you for opportunity. I want to say that dear Katya wrote in chat about her rejoicing, and she said, I want to rejoice to be here with all of you and smile with many hearts. And about my rejoicing, last week I met a group of people who feed people in my town for free. They just give food for people who needs. And I joined them. It was very interesting experience for me. So many people came to take this free food, and it's not like just an apple or something like this. They give a full meal, a hot meal, and some sweets also, and some fruits and tea. So more than 100 people came. So
Wow.
many people, children, elder people, women, men, different age, different state. Some of them look absolutely normal. Some of them have some physical, mental disease. It was very touchable experience for me to give this food to all these people. And I hope I will find time and resources to join this group more. Thank you.
Well, congratulations. That's very powerful, especially if, as you do it, you think you're ripening your seeds. And by doing this, you're setting the seeds so in the future you will have what you need at least once a week. So very good. Well, good luck looking for a soup kitchen. I'm thinking of doing something like that. I've finished, but I'm still not doing my rejoicing. Julia, you're up next. Then I'll do my rejoicing. I don't hear her.
В основном. Слышно меня сейчас? Да, hello.
Hi.
Thank you. Hello, dear Venerable Sumati. I'm glad, I'm happy because I have opportunity to worship you, to serve people, and I'm really happy about that. This is my new experience. I'm young translator, immature, so I'm just starting my practice as simultaneous
Well,
translator. So
make
that's why I'm really happy about that.
Okay, good. Well, what do I have to rejoice in? I have all of you to rejoice in.
Я очень рад за всех вас.
And I have my lovely wife and our host.
И я очень счастлив за свою жену, мою возлюбленную жену.
She's been a wonderful host, and her husband's been wonderful as well. So we've enjoyed looking around Hermosillo, learning a little more about.
К нам приезжали друзья, и мы вместе гуляли.
And what else was I going to choose?
Чему еще я могу радоваться?
Oh, we got our permanent visa cards, and we're working on getting our public health cards. One thing it's going to be difficult to get good affordable health care down here. So we're trying to figure out a way to take care of that. But we're not upset. We're just really glad that so far everybody we've talked to in the government and healthcare issues and insurance issues has been very pleasant and very helpful and happy that we're thinking of moving down here. So that's nice. And I just learned a day or two ago that the plane flights have been reserved and paid for our trip to, are we calling it Guadalajara? Or are we calling it Lake Chapala? Where are we at? We're going to Lake Chapala, right? You can nod. Okay. Anyway, so that's set up. So we have the dates, and we're very much looking forward to that. Okay, class. Today's class is the 10 non-virtues and their karmic results. And let's get this going here. Come on. There we go. So the basis of ethical living is the list of 10 non-virtues. The top 10 deeds that we do which perpetuate misdeeds we do which perpetuate samsara. And this seems like this is really, I don't know, simple because it seems so easy, but it's the basis. We keep talking about how the vows build on each other, and the 10 non-virtues are the foundation. So we need to know them very well. We need to know their karmic results. So we're going to go through them today. And so it's a little bit boring, but maybe I'll have some jokes. Okay. Another way of thinking of the 10 non-virtues is to see them as the path to our problems. We don't want to walk down that path if we know what's at the end is unpleasant. So by knowing what the 10 non-virtues are, we can be sure to focus our attention on not doing them. And then we don't get the unpleasant result. The problem is, now we know we shouldn't do them. What about that karma that's going to be coming along from past misdeeds? And that's what we're talking about today. Knowing the laws of karma and the 3 time frames in which seeds can ripen, we understand that just not doing something wrong isn't going to make our world instantaneously better. And I think that's one of the hardest things for new Buddhism students to appreciate. And it's easy to, sometimes it's, the time lag is not taught as rigorously as it should be. So what do I mean? It's the only way to make our world better. Just not doing something wrong is the only way to make our world better. Simply put, it's like I've said many times in the past and will say many times in the future. Your past is your present and your present is your future. So Lydia had her husband critical of her yesterday. She didn't get mad. She realized it was her karma ripening. And so her future today is much more pleasant. Now, is what she did yesterday the cause for it to be pleasant today? It could be. It likely isn't. But a husband or siblings or family members are powerful karmic objects. So because they're a powerful karmic object, that karmic deed can ripen much more quickly. So you just have to remember constantly, your past is your present is your future. So the 10 non-virtues, really just listing them. We've got killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, vice of talk, harsh words, useless talk, idle talk, and craving, ill will, and wrong views. So we're going to take each one of these and look at them in more detail. So what I'd like you to do now, and we'll just take 5 minutes or so for you to do this, to get ready with this. Choose one mental affliction that's particularly problematic for you. As we go through today's class, try to find the answer for the cause and the result that is, and may well continue to ripen. So take 5 minutes. Let's see. 10:26, we'll start up again. Take 5 minutes, write down what's the major mental affliction that you have to deal with. Could be anger, could be jealousy, it could be any of the 10 non-virtues. Have you all picked one? I'm trying to see how anger fits in here, because lately I found myself angry at myself and talking to myself in an angry tone. And that's setting seeds I don't want to set. So I need to work on that. I think harsh words would probably be where or useless talk is where it's focusing. So take which one you chose, and as we go through, see if you can figure out a way to fix it. Okay, so there are points to ponder here. Remember, the point of the Vinaya is that an omniscient being has said that these things will bring you unpleasant results in the future. The Vinaya is not claiming these are bad deeds inherently because society says so. And that's really important. They are bad deeds because they perpetuate our suffering through the laws of karma. So if you're in a country where stealing is okay, you say to yourself, well, it's not a bad deed because the laws say I can steal. But the result of stealing is people will take your possessions in the future. And if you don't like that, then it isn't okay to steal. Well, it isn't okay to steal anyway, but I think you see my point. So it's really important to remember that Vinaya is not claiming these are bad deeds in and of themselves existently. We'll now go through each misdeed and list the consistent result, the personal consequence, and the environmental result, what you perceive in your environment. This is really pretty interesting, I think. So here we go. Killing. Human or human fetus. That's, I extend that to all living beings, but the actual commitment is not to kill a human fetus. For a full karmic path, you'd have to think about premeditation, think about you wanting to kill something. You must understand that the object is alive. You must be under the influence of a mental affliction. And you actually undertake the deed, complete it in your lifetime, and take ownership. So if any of these four parts are not there, then it's not the full strength of that karmic path. But I think, as we've talked about before, and I stress, it's movement of the mind that we're working on here. So if I get upset because I'm having trouble opening a package and start to swear or start to say ugly things about the package and it's not fair and stuff like that, I'm setting the seeds in the future to be frustrated by things like that again. So I need to remember, keep remembering, it's movement of the mind, movement of the mind. So this includes abortion, suicide. Now, why is suicide? Suicide, you're ruining a body that could have reached nirvana in this lifetime. You're basically cheating yourself of the opportunity to reach nirvana in this lifetime if you commit suicide. Participate in the military, even if it's as a cook or as a worker in the administration of the military. It's as if you shot the gun yourself. So that's daunting. Geshe Michael specifically says that while paying taxes that end up being spent on weapons buys, it bites into this as well. So you need to pay your taxes, but you can mitigate the result somewhat by saying in a note that you do not wish it to be spent on harming people. that's the level of detail I think you need to go to try and root out these common misdeeds in your life. Okay, the personal result of killing another or killing other things, your life is short, you get sick very easily, and you have little energy. The environmental result, food, drink, medicine, crops have very little effect. They're always inferior, they're not healthy, they're hard to digest. Most beings around you die before reaching the end of a full life. So you don't want any of that. So you make sure not to kill. And just to reiterate, if the results of any of these were consistently instantaneous, we would never do any of them. But they aren't. And so we slip and we catch ourselves saying it's my karma, but, and it isn't, it's my karma. So okay, stealing anything of value. This includes shady business deals, cheating on rent, taxes, or bills, underpaying what's due to a local government or society. The personal result, you don't have enough to live on or to make ends meet. What you do have is all just common property of others. Environmental result, the crops are few and far between. The food has no power to remove hunger. They spoil and never come up. It rains too much, doesn't rain enough. So you have trouble with crops. Now that's interesting. I would not have, when I first learned this, I didn't make the correlation between stealing and crop. The other thing to think about, which isn't mentioned here, is the concept of stealing time. Stealing time. Being late for something. Or when you ask a question in a Dharma class, especially Dharma teaching with Geshe Michael, you need to, sometimes we'll hear someone speak and they'll speak quite a long time because they're basically trying to give their opinion. And in my personal feeling in a Dharma class, if you ask a question, it should be about what's being taught. It shouldn't be that you want to tell the teacher or the rest of the students how much you know about something. Because that's, to me, that's stealing time from the teacher and from the students because you're busy talking about what you think and they likely didn't come to class to hear what you think. On the other hand, they could be a better practitioner than me and see what you're saying as a teaching. So, okay. Sexual misconduct. This means mainly adultery, cheating on your partner, the person to whom you are exclusively committed. And also, there are also specific secondary behaviors that our culture finds acceptable, but Buddhist practitioners are to, for the most part, stay away from. And this is true whether you're a monk or a nun or a lay person. So this list is pretty extensive. Sex in the wrong part of the body, so oral sex is sexual misconduct. Homosexuality is sexual misconduct. I don't know if His Holiness has addressed this. I will try to look that up. I need to make a note. Masturbation is considered part of this. Incest, someone underage, someone ordained, a woman while menstruating or more than 1 month pregnant or caring for a young infant. So anybody that would hurt someone with a sexually transmitted disease. And you're not to have excessive sex more than 5 times a day. And it can't be in an altar room or meditation. So those are aspects of the sexual misconduct to keep in mind in the presence of or near your Lama, and sex in the daytime. So personal result, people who work around you are inconsistent or unreliable, and you find yourself having a lot of competition for your partner. People around you are either ones you can rely on or they never come through. We have caused this by respecting personal relationships or formal or disregarding them later. Sort of odd to think about, but it makes sense. Environmental result, you live in a place where there is urine and feces all around, mud and dirt and filth. Everything stinks and everywhere seems unpleasant and distasteful. Early in my career at Diamond Mountain, the septic system backed up in the, what do they call that? Not the students, the community center, the old double wide. And so a coworker and I had to open the septic tank up and clean it. And we both thought that was a good example of the environmental result of sexual misconduct. So we, as we were cleaning this mess up, we rejoiced in the fact that we were purifying a massive amount of past sexual misconduct. Now, because I'm not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, while we were doing this, we found some condoms floating in the septic tank. Does condoms translate easily? Okay, so I looked at those and I said, well, who's been having sex? Because we didn't have that many people there. And it turned out there was, the gentleman I was working with was interested in one of the ladies staying in the house as well. So he turned really red, and I realized I'd really stepped in it. I should have been able to figure that one out. But so if you live in a place which is filthy and unpleasant and distasteful, then that's come from your past sexual misconduct. Okay, lying. Giving someone else a wrong impression. Lying by omission about what you've seen, believe, or know, unless it would save someone's life or prevent real suffering. So this addresses a little bit our concept of thinking about the white lie. And actually, I've got a confession on a white lie that I tell. The question is it really a white lie? So when I talk about my brain scan to see if I had anything in my brain, if there's any pathology in my brain to explain my symptoms. And when I say my physician assistant health giver said, she called me and said that she had good news and bad news. The good news was there was nothing there that shouldn't be there. And the bad news was there was nothing in my skull to begin with. She didn't say that. I made that up as part of a joke. So that's a white lie, but if I admit it right afterwards, is it really a white lie? I don't know. It's not harming anybody. It's being told as a joke on me. But I realize that that's a good example to me of a white lie. So I think we answer the question here is whether it's okay to tell a white lie, unless it would save someone's life or prevent real suffering. So I encourage you to just think twice before you stretch the truth. If you lie and get something, the benefit comes from past good deeds, not from a lie. We must drill this into our mind. The things we think caused the immediate result didn't, unless a powerful karmic object was involved. Okay. Line continued. The personal result. No one believes what you say, even when you're speaking the truth, and others are always deceiving you. I've had two people, one I was very close to, and one I was not so close to, really do. Well, one, a brother-in-law, faked going to pharmacy school for 3.5 years and had everybody convinced he was going to pharmacy school. And when my wife's parents went to his graduation dinner, he confessed at the table that he hadn't been going to school for 3.5 years. That was a massive deception, which none of us figured out until we went back to think about what he had, the things he was talking about as he was supposedly taking class. Because Sumati's one of her brothers, the brother my age, is a pharmacist. And he says in hindsight, he realized that what this relative of mine was saying didn't match with the courses he took and when he took them. The other was a guy that came to Diamond Mountain and soon learned that I have a soft spot for vintage World War II aircraft. And he started telling me about how his father owned a P-38 Lightning and a P-51 Mustang. And I perked up because that's pretty cool. And I don't think, I'm naive enough to not think the guy's lying. Why would you lie about something like that? So I kept asking him questions and he kept talking about it and flying. And then he said when his dad had died, he inherited a ton of money. And how could he donate that to Diamond Mountain? So I looked into it and wrote him a letter that said, here's one way you could donate. And he said, okay, I'll put the money in the bank in January. I think it's like the 15th. So as January 15th came around, he left and he stole a car. So I was pretty sure he wasn't going to donate any money. But my concern was that he would somehow be able to take money out of our Diamond Mountain account. So I made sure he could. And sure enough, he took off. We never saw the money. The aircraft were figments of his imagination. I'd loaned him $1,000 to buy a new computer. And when I loaned the money to him, we signed paperwork that said he needed to pay it back. But when I loaned it to him, I didn't think I'd ever see the money again, just because he didn't have much in the way of a permanent paying job. So lying manifested itself by having someone relatively close to me in the one instance lie through their teeth. So now that I know what I know, it's my karma ripening for having done something very similar. So I try very hard to tell the truth and try and stay away from white lies. So here's a question for you. Why do some people believe people who always lie? And why do they not believe people who tell the truth? So karmically, that's something to think about. Why do people believe some people who always lie? And why do they believe people who don't believe people who tell the truth? Now, this has come up recently in the United States politics. President Trump was constantly hammering about this hoax on the election and hoax this and hoax that and fake news. And up until he started making such a big deal about it, I thought you could trust what was on the newscast. I did. I watched the nightly news and felt they were telling me the truth of what had happened. And now I don't keep up on the news as much as I used to because I don't know who's telling the truth. And is there really a simple truth? Because what I think is right, what President Trump thinks is right, are two entirely different things. Now, are we both right? Well, there's no absolute truth. So maybe we are. Trusting someone once lied to, can you ever trust the person again? And why or why not? This brings up this the subject, whoops. This brings up the subject that I contemplated. I think for me personally, if you do something that harms me, I can forgive and do forgive people that have done me wrong. But I haven't necessarily forgotten. That doesn't mean it dwells on me and I think every day of how I can get even. In this case, I tend to trust. I forgive them and try trusting them again, but I don't forget that they lied to me. So if there's an important decision coming down the road, I remember that the individual lied to me and question at what level I'm going to believe them again. If I ask you as a student, if you understand what I'm saying, if I'm making sense, and you say yes, then I believe you're telling me the truth. But you may be saying yes because you're embarrassed. Well, I just would like to let you know that when I ask you a question, I expect an honest answer. And if you say you get all this clearly, then I'm going to believe you. So it's much nicer going through life trusting people than not trusting people. Okay, the environmental result, your work in cooperation with others fails to prosper. So as a volunteer or working in an organization, I worked in several organizations as a volunteer. If your work in cooperation with others fails to prosper, it's because of your past lying. So the simple way to take care of that is simply not lie anymore and to realize why the people aren't cooperating. That's hard to do because, well, I'm a trusting individual. I trust people. I always have and I always will. Life's much more fun to trust people than to be constantly suspicious. But if you your work in cooperation with others fails to prosper, and the people around you don't work well together, then think back to how you treated others with the truth, and you may find in this life that you, as a child, maybe you lied a lot, and that's going to ripen in this life. You'll find everyone is generally treating one another, and they're afraid, and there are many things to be afraid of. So I think, personally, I see President Trump lying. He seems overly concerned with getting even with people, and he's perpetuating. I really feel sorry for him. What, in my opinion, his next lives is going to be pretty miserable with all the, in my opinion, lies he's telling and the hatred he has for people less fortunate than him. Divisive talk. Splitting people up with your talk. Saying things to alienate or separate two different people, regardless of whether or not your words are true. This mainly happens through gossip. But I think an example would be once a decision is made, like for instance, when I was on the board at Diamond Mountain, once a decision was made, I supported it, whether or not I agreed or not. Because if I wasn't supporting it, then that was divisive talk, because I was trying to get other people to not agree with the board. So if someone asks your opinion about a decision that's being made, you can certainly not agree with the decision, but don't go around telling other people. Only respond when you're asked. Another divisive talk method is causing one person to like another person less. It's usually subtle, like in the tone of your voice. I can't think of an example. Personal result, you lose friends easily. People around you are always fighting one another. And the people around you have an undesirable character. I don't have the karma in this life to have much in the way of karma from lying ripen. So I must have done a pretty good job of not lying in the past. But here's an interesting description. Environmental results is the ground you live on is split up, it's uneven, covered with crags and gullies, high and low elevation. So travel is difficult and you're always afraid. There are many things to be afraid of. That's a pretty good description of Diamond Mountain. When you stop and think about it, it's pretty rough territory. It's uneven, covered with crag. The travel is difficult. So, in that sense, I must have lied in the past. So, in one sense, I haven't dealt with friends. So, my personal result is not from lying in the past, but my environmental result is clearly Diamond Mountain represents the karma ripening for having told lies in the past. But here's an interesting observation, I think. I don't believe any of you were there at the very beginning of Diamond Mountain. But if you think it's rocky and craggy and difficult to get around, it's nothing like it was when we first got on the property. So the point of that is my karma must be improving because the karma for the Diamond Mountain will be an unpleasant place to live due to the difficulty of getting between places. That's much better now. It's much easier to get around to the retreat cabins. It's much easier to fix the water system. It's much easier to provide electricity to each of the cabins. So it seems like that past environmental result is changing into less and less an example of lying. So that's encouraging. How are you, my tongue? You need a break? We're about halfway through. No? Okay. Well, we'll keep going then. Harsh talk. Speech with bad intent and effect. My personal opinion of harsh talk is profanity. Speech with bad intent and effect. I don't know if profanity would fit that description, but it concludes sarcastic, nice words and swearing, even at an inanimate object. Why? Because it's movement of the mind that is causing the seed to be planted. This is where I have to work. I get annoyed with myself not being able to do the things I used to do. Actually, Mike had the opportunity to help me. Before we left on the trip, I decided to make a change in my office. I do that usually when I change project. And I'm probably not writing any more books on missiles, so I was just changing project. So anyway, long story short, we made this change, and it all actually worked out pretty well. So I was on my best behavior not to have harsh talk and bad intent. Well, one reason this works so well is I asked, this is going to sound strange, but I've always liked being able to do pretty much everything I need to do and not have to have anybody help me. So we got working on this reasonably trivial project, and it occurred to me that it was time for me to just have someone else do the work. So I'd asked Mike if he'd help me, and he said yes, and so he did. And he put up very well with my telling him what I wanted him to do. It's pretty funny. I have a certain way of doing things with power tools, and so I shared that with Mike, and I bless his heart, he didn't give me any static. So sarcastic sarcasm. It's kind of funny. Bruce, Sarani's brother, has a very dry sense of humor and uses sarcasm a lot. And I find sarcasm kind of enjoyable. Okay. Pure motivation is important. Sometimes harsh words can be used endearingly amongst those who are close to. And I say, because well, the word nigger is a very bad word to use for African Americans, at African American. So if a white person says that, then it's a derogatory, terrible thing to say. But if a black person calls his next door neighbor a nigger, then that's okay. So this would be an example of harsh words can be used endearingly. I don't understand. So if they call me a cracker or a redneck, they're basically being derogatory toward me as a white person. But I can call myself a cracker, a redneck, and not be using harsh talk. So my solution to this is simply not swear. Use your vocabulary. Improve your vocabulary by not having to use profanity. So the personal results of harsh talk, you hear many unpleasant things, you hear things as bad sounds. When others talk to you, it always seems to you as if they wanted to start a fight. Loud music, barking dogs. The solution: don't complain thinking it will solve the problem forever, which it doesn't. Instead, watch your actions, do the 4 powers, and the neighbors will move away, and the dog will go away. Environmental result. The ground where you live is covered with obstacles like fallen tree trunks, thorns, sharp broken glass. So this again describes Diamond Mountain. So harsh words in the past have ripened for the uneven and difficult ground to work on at Diamond Mountain. Oh. My wife had an interesting solution we had a neighbor that was really noisy and played their music really loud all night. And this guy lived a good 70 or 80 yards away, so 200 feet away. And so she took out, there's a Chinese feng shui way to solve this problem. You take a mirror and you put 2 red dots on the mirror, and you point it at the house, the source of the noise. And invariably that took care of the problem. It took a while, but they'd leave. And that was reflecting we like to think of it as we were reflecting their inconvenience back on them. Okay. Idle talk. Meaningless chatter, criticism, disputes, useless joking, whining, complaining. That pretty well covers idle talk. Speaking with a motive of attachment or craving, gossiping about politics and sports. There's nothing wrong with talking about sports or movies, but put it in perspective. What's the most important? If the most important part of your day is when you get online on WeChat or Telegram or WhatsApp, and you find yourself spending an hour talking to someone about how awful President Trump is. That's, to me, if you don't have a solution to a problem, but if you have an opinion, you should have a solution in mind. So to me, idle talk would be complaining about something without having a solution. And if you have a solution, then to me, that's productive talk. But you have to have a solution. So if I'm going to complain about President Trump, I need to have a solution in mind. Another idle talk, which I think I will admit happens to me infrequently, but still happens. Reciting prayers while not thinking about their meaning. Think back, how many times have you done a mandala offering, a refuge, and just getting it out of the way because you have a commitment to do it 3 times in the morning and 3 times at night. Another idle talk, gossiping about others' values or spiritual practice. Dharma is sacred and it should not be discussed casually. As an aspiring bodhisattva, you may need to discuss mundane topics with others for their benefit, but keep the ultimate goal in mind and don't be drawn into worldly discussions. Bodhisattvas blend in, and when the time is right, try to swing the conversation to something meaningful. So idle talk, personal result. No one listens to you, no one respects what you say, no one thinks that what you say has any particular value. You are thus afflicted with a lack of confidence and self-esteem. I've been in situations where the person I'm talking to, I'm going to book this. Well, I've used this example before. If I'm talking to Mike about some Dharma, anything, and Katya comes up to me and stands respectfully, whatever distance away, I can either, in my mind, be rude and not acknowledge she's there, or I can say, Katya, let me finish up with Mike and I'll be with you in just a minute. Now, what does that have to do with idle talk? Well, I think my ignoring, well, when I come up to someone, this happens, my being ignored is due to my idle talk, where what I was saying had nothing of value. So I try not to get involved in idle talk, and I try to burn off the ripening of idle talk by acknowledging the presence of, in this case, Katya, and winding up my conversation with Mike so I can help her. These seem like little tiny things, but the karma ripens, grows, doubles every 24 hours, or it increases. So it's the subtle small things I keep mentioning. It's the subtle small stuff is what's going to catch up and bite you. Environmental result of idle talk. Fruits refuse to grow or grow up to a long time. They seem ripe when they're not. There are no leisure places around like parks or pools of cool water. Many things around you make you afraid. I don't see a correlation why fruits would refuse to grow. That correlation is not obvious to me. Okay, craving and coveting. Wanting others' possessions and personal qualities, like their intelligence, their health, fame, youth, spiritual achievements. It comes in 5 stages. You're attached to your own possessions. You desire to accumulate more than you have. You discover another's possessions. You like to make them your own. The desire becomes unmanageable and you lose shame, which means then you act. So when I started building our house at Diamond Mountain and our retreat cabin, my contractor and I were pretty good friends. And he said, and my given name is David. He said, David, we both like power tools. I want to make a pact with you that neither one of us will buy a power tool unless we really need it. So we did a pretty good job with that. And I happened to, there's a company called Ryobi, which is Home Depot sells. And Doug would always tell me about how Makita product was a much better power tool. And I said, well, okay, I can't afford Makita, I can afford Ryobi. So we were working on the roof of the metal standing seam roof of the Menla garage and Menla house. And he said, there's a waste of your money for buying that. And my Ryobi impact driver was longer and did much better than his Makita. So what's the point of that sort of craving or coveting? I didn't crave the tool he had. And we had an agreement not to let craving or coveting govern our purchase of tools. I needed an impact driver because I was going to be doing most of the installation of the metal roof. I didn't want to borrow his tool because I have this thing about borrowing tools or loaning tools. We had a jointer, a planer, and he was doing a lot of work on that for our windowsills. And boy, I wanted to get a planer something fierce because it was a cool tool. But I coveted his in the sense that I wished I had one, but I wasn't craving it to the point of where I would buy one. That's pretty much true with me with computers. If someone has the latest computer, I've gotten over having to have the latest computer. One of my laptops was fairly new because I replaced one that stopped working. But the one I use the most, the one I'm using now for class is, let's see, when did I buy that? 2019, 6 years, almost 7 years. That's unheard of to have a computer that long. But I really like this computer. Okay. Personal result, your personality is dominated by desire. You're never satisfied with what you have. I don't think I have that problem. I'm satisfied, pretty much satisfied with what I have. I'm not satisfied that I have Parkinson's, but I don't think that's the point. Environmental result, every good thing you manage to find starts to get worse, decreasing as days, months, and seasons go by. About the only thing in my life that's decreasing as days, months, and seasons go by is my health. Other than that, I'm a pretty happy camper. Ill will, to wish bad things upon others. Being pleased when others fail or have misfortune. Competitiveness, oh, how'd they mess up? Tell me more. Not feeling as bad for an unfortunate person as you would feel for yourself if you were them. So what does this all mean? Ill will. I find myself wishing that President Trump's plans fail. So that's ill will. So instead of hoping they fail, I say to myself, what can I do to make President Trump and others like him understand that their policy is hurting people in a way they don't know? So instead of thinking, I hope his plan fails, I try and think of ways to have someone who is one of his supporters understand the implication of what they're doing. Now, here's an example. There was a representative that was a strident Trump supporter and voted to decrease the number of offices for Social Security because they were, quote unquote, a waste of money and time. You didn't need that many offices. this guy was adamant about not needing that many offices until they closed the one in his district. And all of a sudden, his constituents didn't have easy access to Social Security questions. And it was his mistake at thinking his mistake was thinking that it would close in everybody's districts but his. So he changed his mind. And this is an example to me of ill will. It's an example of unintended consequences. When this guy voted to decrease the number of Social Security offices, he didn't think it would affect him. But it was unintended consequence of his vote once it closed the office in his district. So ill will is an example to me of unintended consequences. It's like practical jokes. I don't believe practical jokes are funny, and I don't have much respect for the people that play practical jokes on others. Personal result. Your personality is dominated by anger. You're always finding yourself without help, never find the help you need. You're always hurting others, or always being hurt by others. And my personality is not dominated by anger. I try not to hurt people. So from a personal result standpoint, I'm in pretty good shape on this one. You live in a world of chaos, disease is spread, evil is everywhere, fear of harm from the military, dangerous animals. I think my world is starting to turn this way. So from an environmental standpoint, I must have wished ill will on a lot of people, because exactly what this paragraph describes is what I think is going to happen with the current administration. Okay, wrong view, the last item. Are we doing one time? Wrong view means not regarding karma as being the direct cause of every microsecond of experience that we have. Karma is the cause of every experience we have, period. Yes, I'm repeating myself. No, I can't repeat myself enough. It's both a curse and our power. We first learn right from wrong in public, right from wrong public behavior through our parents, schools, or churches. What is legal and illegal. Then we figure out we could do things in private that no one would know about, so we get around that. If you believe in the laws of karma, the only witness that matters is your mind. As Geshe puts it, that high definition recorder that is never turned off and has an erase button that's hard to push. Things are bad to do because of the results you get later on. Society is not the ultimate authority. Cultural mores change at the whim of mass marketing. Look at smoking. Up until the 50s, early 60s, smoking was acceptable. But it was a social socially acceptable to smoke. And now it causes cancer and you shouldn't smoke. So 60, 70 years after smoking tobacco, or maybe 100 years of smoking was in all over the world. Now it's not. So society is not the ultimate authority. cultural mores change at the whim of mass marketing. The personal result of wrong view. Your personality is dominated by stupidity. You're a person who keeps harmful views, and you are a deceitful person. Well, in my opinion, that pretty well describes President Trump. You live in a world where the single highest source of happiness is steadily disappearing from the earth. I must have done, because of these explanations, personal result, environmental result, I had wrong view for a long time. And it's ripening now as a president in Congress that doesn't have a clue about how to help the individual. But that's my opinion. They may be thinking they're doing an absolutely wonderful job. Now, who's right? If what they do is causing harm to people, then they're not right. If what I'm doing is causing harm to people, I'm not right. But if they're wrong and I'm right because I'm trying to help other people, then that to me means I need to focus my attention on, well, how do I put this? Having solutions. If I have an opinion, have a solution to go with that opinion. If I do that, then I'm contributing to the betterment of society and the world. Even if I can't, my solution for immigration problems is fairly mundane. But it's not, I have a solution instead of just complaining and whining about it. I think that's really an important, very important in this discussion of ethics and morality, is have solutions, show that you're thinking ahead of the problem, and you'll have the karma ripen for people to do that for you in the future. When people think that unclean and suffering things are actually nice and happy, when there's no place to go, no one to help you, nothing to protect you, that's a result of wrong view. So there are 4 types of karmic results that cover what we've just been discussing. Committing the 10 misdeeds leads to these 4 kinds of karmic results. A ripening result, it means to be ready, inclined to experience the result. It refers to the realm in which your rebirth occurs. If you do a big bad deed, leads to rebirth in the hell realm. Medium bad deeds lead to birth in the craving spirit realm, and small bad deeds lead to birth in the animal realm. The Abhidharma Kosha details these, and I have a copy of Geshe Michael and Ken Rinpoche's translation of the Abhidharma Kosha. It's in English, but if any of you are interested in getting a copy, let Svetlana know, and I'll make sure you get an emailed copy. It's pretty interesting to read, and it describes what they mean by big bad, medium bad, and small bad misdeed. The result consistent with the cause. It's consistent with the karmic cause you have personally created. The great scriptures have 2 consistent causes for every misdeed. Another consistent karmic result. Jason Kappa says the great lamas of our lineage have described another kind of consistent cause, which is a tendency to do the same misdeed over and over and again in the future. to be attracted to doing the misdeed. It means attraction toward ingrained habits. And the fourth one is the environmental result, which we've been discussing. They relate to how you experience the physical earth and the society in which you live, i.e. the world around you. So if we keep all of this in perspective, it seems rather overwhelming and it seems rather boring in many ways. But I think for me, it gives me the opportunity to think in more detail about what I've done in the past to create my present and what I want to do in my present to create my future. So complaining without a solution is another way to perpetuate the problems I'm seeing in the world. And each of the misdeeds is something I'm constantly aware of during the day. And I encourage you to keep them, think about them all day. Maybe think about one for a day or a week, and then think about another one, and keep track of what you observe. You may think, well, I don't have ill will to anybody, until you really focus on your day. And when you think that guy who cuts you off in traffic, you think he's an idiot. Well, that's ill will. Instead of going, well, he's getting somewhere he has to go. I hope he's okay, and I hope his family's okay, and that's why he's speaking on the phone while he's driving. Okay. The karma of committing not to do these 10 misdeeds is an exercise of renunciation, not just something cool to do. There is no way to fundamentally change the external world around you. Rather, you should have the intelligence, self-interest, and eliminate bad karma in order to change what you don't like about your own experience. The external world that's around me now is coming from my past deeds. All I can do is change my karma now so that the seeds I'm planting now will result in a more pleasant world. And that I have control over. And that's what I love about Buddhism. I have control over my next life. I can't say I'm going to be reborn in Tucson, Arizona, or Lake Chapala in Mexico. I don't have that kind of power. But I do know that if I act properly now, at some point in my future lives, what I'm doing now will ripen as a most pleasant environment. And since I don't know how, if any of you are Buddhas emanating to try and teach me, if I do act properly in response to your questions and your experiences, then maybe I am setting the seeds to make my future much more pleasant because I'm working with high karmic objects. I try to think of everybody and anybody, anything I work with as high karmic object. The vows are a way to remove your unhappiness. You'll notice how your life changes. And I think it's great fun. If your life isn't changing very much once you've taken vows, it's because you're not keeping your vows properly. Tonight, I want you to think of one thing that you do that you really want to get rid of. Review this class before not tomorrow, before Thursday, and see where it fits into your desire to be rid of that affliction. So seriously, please take that mental affliction that we were to work on as we were going through this. Go back through the list, go back through the reading, and try and come up with a path for fixing it. And finally, Lord Buddha said, if you want to get rich, be generous. If you want to be happy, practice morality. Okay, that's pretty much it for this class. Let's dedicate this class. May the precious Buddha mind not yet born arise and grow, and may that born increase forevermore. May the benefit and goodness of Dharma spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill quickly every level and path and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. So, okay. We'll see you all on Thursday. I'll be back in the comfort of my normal computer environment. That'll be nice. Thank you for coming to class, and we will see you in a couple of days. Thank you for translating, Julia. I hope it wasn't overwhelming. Hope your voice comes. How'd you get home? Oh, how'd you do in Australia? Oh, you can't tell me.
No, I don't know.
Okay. We'll see you. We're very excited about coming down to your neck of the woods. I'm really excited. You can nod yes or no. Do you have a place we're going to teach in yet? Yeah? All right. Excellent. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.